I just did freestyle. Sounded a bit mental because it was just like I become aware of like I don't know like spectrums. I suppose is the best way to put it. Like being aware of how you can feel at different times in. I suppose we all experience the same cycles as a organism with hormones, and there's a lot of spirituality on TikTok, right? There's a hell of a lot of spirituality. And I've always considered myself quite spiritual, like always gravitated to the books, to the crystals, the idea of Reiki, the idea of this and this and this and this. And like a lot of people talk about doing Qui-Gon, and you see all these trending podcasts. And I did Tai Chi when I was like 18, 19, for over a year, and just, learned the entire form. And it's good. And it's about pushing chi energy around your body. Chi, negative energy, what your thoughts are made up of and what you're made up of, right? I don't know if it's any coincidence, but the people that have been the most helpful only come around after some sort of next level testing. It's like, it just felt like I don't like to perpetuate cycles because I think I'm very aware of the power of words. And if you tell someone you're like, it's subconscious programming. If there's no 1 to 7-year-olds watching this, so they won't be listening to that. But when I was a kid, my nan used to say, these things tend to test us. You hear people saying things like that. And you go, I wonder what is that all about? To feel like you are more tested than other people. Different demographics. And the conditions on which they live and where they live and their place on the map and their class and their environment and things like that do probably formulate their experiences. Are there esoteric circles and people at play? The people, for a while there, like when the internet was coming through, a lot of people were getting preoccupied with hip hop and this idea of one world order. And a few of these sort of like people come through in that like masonry. It's like, it's nothing what you think it is. It's not some middle class white man's game. It's it's a global thing, and it probably deeper and more. If you ever watch the X-Files, and it goes back to Africa and origins of humanity and things like that, and like it's the cradle of civilization things, and this idea that there was alien tech, that when the gods actually visited, depicted on pyramids, they were actually aliens and doing stuff. And if there is any truth in that, then who's among us and all this sort of things. And I think the more you delve into quantum ideologies and stuff like Rick and Morty, timelines, is the more to appreciate that time probably is not fixed, and there are 13 suns, 13 moons, and it's like that illusory sort of like cloak that the universe might wear, kind of thing. And that there might be transcendental beings, or they, at different times and spaces, they're just a bit off whack. And I was talking to someone the other day about the idea of the third eye and its secretion of the Christos that goes up and down the spine, or whatever the symbol guy is saying, like when we have rhombohedron crystals in our pineal glands and like weird stuff. And you like go, well, when people play with, for example, like they treat people in an A&E on ketamine, which is kind of like to have an out-of-body experience, going to a K-hole. But it's like, it's a thing they use around healthcare now, but people doing it where they chase that level of like K-hole and having a K-trip and being out of body. They chase it. So it's like, so in a way, what is the makeup of a mind? People talk about the mind, and they say they've started treating people with ketamine to say sort of like get out of your own way. Like if you've got goals and ambitions, use ketamine to get out of your own way. Now I've seen people get on stage after doing ketamine. People use ketamine around a lot of scenes. But it's like this idea that, like, I mean, what are you actually doing to your brain chemistry? Are you on? It feels like I went to a town centre ward, and I was a town centre ward. I went to festivals and I had a K-hole. And I felt like when I come back, like I was on some different timeline. Like, are there beings that I notice now that I wouldn't have noticed then? Like, and they're sort of like, yeah, it does sort of like mess with your continuity. Let's just call it that but you're moving yourself out of body. And then it's like to experience extreme, escalated height of mood of ecstasy. that's another altered state. And then to do this and this and this. And then people might perceive you as anything. I mean, I get my haters. I get some random just interactions and people just be like horrible to you. And you go, well, I feel like I'm just being my authentic self. There's no part of me. I think, I just feel happy just being at home in my skin and I don't particularly care. I haven't got the same preoccupation of wanting to breed as other women do. I was sitting there yesterday, I was having a drink yesterday, and the thought crossed my mind. I was like, would you have kids if it just happened or something transpired? I thought to myself, getting later in life. I thought, but it's such an afterthought. And no, it shouldn't. No. You had your goals, your ambitions. If society wasn't nice enough to you to afford you some success or to put you on a timeline where you'd be happy providing for kids, then fuck society, isn't it? Yeah, you could say that's cutting your nose off to spite your face, but it's really not. It's really not. So I don't know where I just got waylaid in that. But the point is, if you mess with brain chemistry, you feel like you are to be more architect, see things from different angles. And it's not about drugs. It's about actually just who you are. I was into crystals and into pyramids and things when I was younger. And so you go, oh, okay, I just have a fascination with like how actually the human spirit can be shrunk, messed with energetically. And it's like, it's just manipulation. Like there's a lot of esoteric people come through saying how we come to Earth to manipulate matter or, do things. Some people just come to Earth just to manipulate a person. And I'm in a position where I feel like I'm just someone that was open to being heavily manipulated and I don't want to be anymore. And it's like, I don't really like being manipulated or feeling like I'm possessed, like I have a possessive person or like possessing my energetics. I think there's nothing worse than sort of feeling that level of suffocation. People just like, they demanding energy. We demand to be loved. I don't. It was funny doing dance. I remember the teacher saying I was really introverted when I was younger, and I thought I was actually not even remotely demanding. I wouldn't even like put myself out there. I was really shy. And she said, "You have really demanding energy." And I look at her, I think, how am I even remotely demanding? I feel like all my energy is demanded by somebody else actually, and I just feel like I'm just like, in a way, like that blank surface. I think maybe that is, but that, and you say to yourself, is that manipulation? And if that was your your path, then cool. It might have provided you with a really good blueprint to get on in creative fields because people can relate. But I just saw a video come up on Instagram of a woman getting dragged across the floor in a special effects scene by a poltergeist. And it can often feel a bit like that, I think, the medium of film, TV, or mediums when you're trying to spot somewhere. And shall I post that video? Yeah, it's basically just trying to say that I understand the demographics, like in America, where people are taught that it's okay. They try to groom certain veins for industrial scenes, basically. And it makes you feel like there's a cult operating around you or people have got agendas. And like if you go to East London, they're actually towards like, oh, she'll join the army and things and this and this. And I don't know if it's like that in every country. But I think with the age of the internet, you just can't ignore the facts that people are just together. And it's like governments, I just think that they've become some sort of redundant in some ways because they don't ever just keep it real or energetically keep it real where everybody else is at. So it's just like they're really becoming more and more redundant. And I don't think you need to be governed and governmented. I think there's more care in the community and the world's closer than it ever was. And it should just be a bit more generous with each other. And with the broadcasting culture and the way things are with tech, the idea I come up with ages ago, it just grew into a like, oh no, that would be a great broadcasting firm as well. And it'd be out there on the streets and it'd just be providing for a lot of people. Because everybody, if they're going to feel like they're confined over things for climate and stupidity and people just really being quite oppressive and quite abusive, I didn't find anything nice about that. And I found that people were getting desensitized, nurses were and people and everything else. If you're going to find you're going to get that, then you're going to have to just like pull together and make something that I propose. And that wasn't even proposed for that in the first one. I did it a decade ago. It was just to link up homeless charities and be a presence on the street with a washroom and an office, and just take them around and make sure that nobody died in the winter, because you had these squat buildings that were communal buildings. So it just come about from that. But then it's like, actually, it's an infinity design. It's an infinity design because it will be broadcasting, and it will provide distribution of wealth, and it will be making wealth as it goes along. It's not about money. It's about regulating money. And I think that there is not a celebrity, there's not a celebrity or person up the top that would actually disagree with it. And they'll probably be like, actually, yeah, I want to get myself one of them little vans to stick in the front of the drive on the road where they live, so it's just there and it's obtainable, and people can actually, maybe you can have a trusted friend with set keys to the van and stuff, and you can just switch on your body cam and your things, and you can just document the thing that needs documenting, and it'll generate an award scheme once a while. Just a really low key thing, but just there. So it's providing citizens advice, and it's like the cases where there's deficits in care, you can just get the hands on the meds from different places in the world, and it's being that little link vehicle, document, yeah, here's your name. And I don't know if the USA has a big issue scheme where you can sleep on people's sofas or spare room projects for a little period of time until you're off the street, but it's a taxi kind of thing for that. The practicality is what it's born from, just the practical services. So yeah, I think it's viable, and it's people like it for the idea that it will generate van conversion firms will get a lot of business out of it. Broadcasting firms will get a lot of quality out of it. And that's it. It's a grassroots up thing. And I thought if you chuck in a Prince's Trust design like fruit picking and just doing that, the stuff that people, I want to always, like, I see all these volunteer things. I say, I'd really like to go and help the turtles. I really like to do that. I really like to do that. But you have to pay for it. So you always have to pay out of your pocket. But they're instant things that people could be provided for in a charity context like that. A franchise, if you will, because people can just buy into it and have their own operating system that's just there in the community. If they're rich, they can be like that, and it's not coming out their pocket, just the one payment for the van, and the thing will be, and then they can just operate it. They can literally operate, then they're an operator, and that might be really rewarding and fulfilling for anybody. I said it could appeal to people as a full-time thing to do, like ex-police, ex-military, ex-people might like it. People, they might like it because it would be more fulfilling, and it's more like, because there are still problem cases. You get the ghetto mentalities where people are forced to be this and this. They might want to escape, like, I just need to get out of here quick ASAP. Idealistic for that, isn't it? It's like taking it into your own hands. Oh yeah, register you. You can go. This person's got spare room for a bit, and we'll probably kind of get you on one of the schemes. Go get you fruit picking for a couple of weeks. You can get some money together and get your head together and think about what you need to do and things. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air kind of escape thing, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's just like the world don't need to be suffering so much in this day and age. I don't think. I don't see any need for people to be so down on their luck. But they are. And it's like, it's not documented. The mainstream isn't a documentary of these things. It's just from your own experience and what you've seen and what you know to be true. And in places like the USA and the UK, like if you're lucky enough, you have a situation like myself, and this is basic, like your parents, they're still putting pressure. They don't have respect for the creative industries or field. If I just go on a flight and get her to pitch the film idea and get her to do things and just get a mover shaking, and then you're automatically doing that, and it's a big responsibility. But as it stands, it's like I watched that film the other day about Wham, and it's like they're touring the country and they didn't see a single red cent. They come back from being famous and they're sitting on a bus like nobody's, and that's what's coming about with age of TikTok and stuff. It's like, fuck, you've got all the pressure and you've put yourself around TV film sets and stuff, and so now you've got haters and you've got camps and you've got people that probably don't want you to actually go ahead and just be a success. And it's like that, and it's like, what is this? And then there's this guy popped up on YouTube, and it seems like they're telling the narrative of my story as I'm watching YouTube. And the guy says, what does he say? He's like, yeah, it's like films. You have to overcome great adversity, and that's the way films are wrote, and that's how the law of attraction works. And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't need another hero. Like I went to, I met all the performing arts homeless charities as well, and they're good. Yep, singing in a choir, meeting people, met them all, and then it's like, oh yeah, I think I've gone through enough now. It's like, come on now, come on now. But it's like, to what degree are you manipulated? It's like, do people pull your strings as part of their jollies and kicks around esoteric society rather than just give you wham bam, there's your money, fam. Like, we were always hearing about Jim Carrey as well and how he wrote a check for himself for this. And this and this and this. It's hard work, isn't it? And I was always working class. I've always prided myself on this, and now I'm like, that was hard work. All the undue attention from the Metropolitan Police was ugly. And I don't think anybody wants to see their perspective shift up in a lifetime as much as mine has had to shift up, just from perceiving and meeting characters that I never expected to perceive or meet within bodies operating on people that are around lens culture life. Lens culture. I was saying there's a book called The Crystal Sun. Lenses have been around since the beginning of time. Lens revered. What's a lens? Cameras capture lenses. They heat. Sort of like Indiana Jones, using them as weapons to reflect the sun. I wonder if that was true. No, there was no true. But the point is, what is the point? Why is it such a big deal? And I think to go through experiencing it, coming in like a bay of sharks, and to have yourself be manipulated, it's just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? But some people just get off on that. And like, that's not even a playing field, is it? I say that's just red card fouls. So these people call themselves players. So you're not even a player. You're like, and it's like, in trying to get to that world, you've just met all the fucking red cards and abuse and crap and bullshit and everything else. And you're like, wow, is that what that's actually the top's made up of? Like being guarded by or something? Like, you got to try and throw as much shit, or try and label, or try and make room for manoeuvre and manipulation, so this person doesn't feel too powerful, doesn't feel too confident in their shoes. And then you're seeing things like about Russell Brand coming up now. I've been his admin on his group, just like someone made me admin. I don't, put me as admin. I didn't do that. I didn't make Russell Brand fan group, but I just found myself as a admin. And then it's like women come forward saying, oh, he had sex with them after the show and they all felt used or whatever, and all this stuff and all sorts of manner of stuff. And it's like, manner. What can you trust? Who can you trust? And what is this bullshit? And it was like that part of it was playing a massive part as well, because the people you grow up with and shit, and they're being criminalised and shit. And you go, what is it? What is it? What fall from grace life is? Is it just one big fall from grace? Is it just one big fall from like seeing it as so simple into just seeing it as like, does it need to be like that? And do I have to really work this hard? And what am I trying to do? I'd rather sit on a beach and sell sun loungers as a job. I like the ocean. I would want to spend my life swimming in the sea.